Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. My name is Andrew Hasley, and I am the host of the show. Today we have on Peter Lynch with the Unshakable Coach, or is it just Unshakable, no the?
Either way works for
All
me.
right, cool.
I'll be the Unshakable Coach. That
Okay,
sounds good.
sweet.
But no, it's Unshakable Coaching.
Okay, Unshakable Coaching, and what is that business? What do you do if you were to sum it up in a couple sentences?
And the punchline is I help people break through their internal barriers to success and really step into the fullness of their potential. Because
Okay.
when you're stuck up here, you're going to be stuck out here.
For
A lot
sure.
of things try to approach from the externals, but when we
They're
approach
limitless.
things from internal, up here and in here, everything flows.
All right, sweet. Well, let's get into that in this episode, but before we do, I'm going to read the sponsors.
Sounds good.
Today's sponsor is my video production company, Vehement Visuals. We produce videos for businesses, help them clarify and tell their story and automate certain processes within their business and help them grow their business using the power of video. That is Vehement Visuals, and that's my video production company. The second sponsor for today is advertising this advertising space. If you would like me to read read a 15-second to 30-second script about your business, promoting your business at the beginning of every episode, we can make that happen. Reach out to me at cosbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. And we do have another sponsor, but we're still working on the script for his ad, and we're gonna make that happen. It's actually at Atmos Planning, and once we get that done, that'll be here too. So I know we don't have the script yet, but I still want to throw it in. Yeah, man. So that's the sponsors for the show for today, and I'll roll the intro music and we'll get started. It looks like the blinds are like about to shine on you too.
Looks like
It's about to just. This is a show where we have real conversations with entrepreneurs and business owners who are mostly in Colorado Springs, doing things in the community of Colorado Springs. All right. So that sun, man, it's really just trying to really interfere with my interviews.
it's trying to illuminate me.
Yeah,
it's doing
exactly.
its best.
So I'm gonna get that fixed eventually. I'm gonna produce another light in here and black those windows out. So that's just one thing that I'm talking about right now, I guess.
One of many, right? The ongoing list.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
So how's things going?
Going great.
Good.
In a crazy year, things are going great.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this, and what inspired you to really get started in this?
Yeah, so I've been working in coaching kind of a role, right, for quite a while. And by quite a while, I mean for years.
Okay.
In different positions, whether that was as a leader of a team, whether that was, working with others in a consulting type role. And it became over time more and more clear to me what I said at the beginning, which is if you're stuck up here, you're going to be stuck out here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What does out here mean?
Out here means your performance, your results.
Everything.
Right?
Okay.
Pretty much everything. Yeah, it means money, it means relationships, it means your health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because all of it really comes from internal.
Mm-hmm.
It's an internal state that reflects into the external, and the external state reflects the internal back to us for the reason to change it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we look at the externals and we think I need to change this, but it's not about this. This is only reflecting who you are. So that you can change you. When you change, the world changes around you. Now, given, I'm not saying that like changing your mind is going to change like the political system or anything like that, right? Now, we do have great figures like Gandhi who were capable of doing that, but that was because of the deep inner work that they did. But what I'm saying is when you find freedom in here, you are free in any situation. When you're in bondage in your mind, you're in bondage in any situation.
Yeah.
So further than my own inspiration came from years of being in a mental dungeon, right? So being under deep depression. I was suicidal for years. I was in deep depression for more than a decade. I would drink myself to sleep. I hated my life. I hated myself. I was in a really dark spot. And I always just say, thank God I didn't get into hard drugs because I don't think I would be here.
For sure.
Right. So I haven't had that struggle, but I've had a lot of other issues with addiction of different types but mostly just really deeply struggling with who am I? I know that I'm capable of more, but I don't feel capable of achieving more. So it's such a just agony of soul.
Yeah.
And so as I worked through that for myself, I found that, there was no option. Like I could not now live without doing the same for others, right? Being able to provide a system to just practically and pragmatically move forward, implementing many, many different disciplines.
Yeah, and I have a couple questions of that.
Absolutely.
But this is why I need an intern. I got to double check this camera.
Let's do it.
All right, we're good. Every time I double check it, it's always going, but it's still like this is what I was talking about, man. Like I need an intern because I wouldn't have to worry about that. They would make sure everything is rolling, going good.
Interns should be excited to work for you.
Yeah,
should be no problem.
Yeah, it should.
What I mean?
I think I have a meeting with someone this evening around 2. With someone who's interested in being an intern. So yeah,
we'll pause on that actually as a perfect example.
Okay.
Of when somebody creates a conflict within themselves, they find a conflict externally, right? So if you were to approach this situation saying it's going to be really hard to find a good intern, you would find it very hard to find a good intern.
For sure.
And there's many different dynamics that go into play to that. One of which just being the RAS system of the brain that filters your information. You would filter out the good interns.
Yeah.
But if you go into it with the decision, it's going to be, all right, I'm going to have a good time finding the right intern.
Your mind is open to seeing the opportunities as well.
Exactly.
It's like primed for that.
Your subconscious mind will go to work to prove whatever you decide to be true.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of the wild thing where it's like, can you really just make a new decision? Can you really just change your mind and change your life? And absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you don't, you'll just continue to be used by your mind. It'll just continue to replay the same pattern.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of the power of what people talk about when they talk about manifestation.
Right.
And it's the same concepts right there is, like what you're thinking about and what you believe to be true is going to be true.
It's going to be, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
There's definitely that metaphysical, and then there's all the science. It's the reality of things.
Yeah.
It's the reality of life. And in a way, it's much simpler than oftentimes the metaphysics make it sound, but it's also more complex than, it's much less understood than any of us like to think.
Yeah. Our brain is a computer, man. It is. It's not just any computer. It's what do they call those? A machine learning computer. By that, I mean, if you have a problem, your brain's going to figure out whatever way, no matter how, to get to that. It can figure out. It's going to.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you give it a goal, your brain, like you said, it's a supercomputer. It's phenomenal, the power of the mind to go to work to solve problems.
Yeah.
The problem is we oftentimes, and this is really where the work comes in, is to determine what problems are you giving your brain to solve. Because if you're giving your brain poor problems, you get poor results.
For sure.
If you give your brain the problem of, I just have to pay my bills, you'll pay your bills and not much more. See, right? If you're giving your brain the problem of like, why does my life suck? It just kind of goes around to look for answers to that problem. Oh, well, here you go. Here's a reason.
For sure.
Here's another crappy reason. Like, we'll find evidence for that all day. Here you go. What else do you want us to do, boss? You know what I mean? And also, real quick, because I find this fascinating, right? It's also the brain being a computer. Absolutely, it runs on code, binary code, just the way any computer program does.
Yeah.
So you can literally weigh your thoughts numerically because your neurosynaptic connections, right? The neurons fire or they don't fire. That's on or off. That's 1 or 0. So you're running a binary code in your mind that leads to, right? So it's kind of like the same thing of, if you want to change what's on your computer screen, you don't go and try to fix the screen. It's not the screen's issue. It's the programming. So change the programming, you change what's on the screen, right? So same thing with our life, back to that idea. Once you change what's in here, you change the screen, which is the representation of what you're experiencing.
So how did you change what's in here?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
and finally swallowing, and then learning to swallow my pride more and more to accept more and more coaching from others. Because one of the greatest obstacles that I've suffered with and suffered deeply with, and it's one of the things that, and obviously it sounds, like I have my, there's more than one reason to say this. Obviously, I'm a coach, so it sounds self-serving, but I mean, the reality is get outside yourself and get a coach as fast as you freaking can, unless you like to suffer.
Well, it's good that you believe in coaches if you're a coach.
Well, I know the power of it, so because that was, like I said, one of the biggest things that I struggled with Why was that the biggest thing? Because, I mean, there were these other symptoms that were worse, right? But if I had gotten coaching sooner, those would have been resolved sooner. Because as long as I was stuck in my own head, I couldn't see a way out. So that's one of the things is it's the old adage, you can't see the forest for the trees. Why do all professional athletes have a coach, right? So why would we think other aspects of our life would be any different? You can't see your own thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Only to some limited experience, right? I do my best with myself to coach myself every day, right? To keep moving forward, to check my own thoughts. I do all of that. I have many practices to keep myself on track. Otherwise, I'm a mess.
For sure.
You know,
Same
quite
here.
honest. I'm only here because of the discipline that I do have, right? It's not because I have any superhuman talent by any means. You know, I was the most, not untalented, but like the most, you know, I mean, on many levels, I was a failure.
Okay.
Earlier in my life, you know, those dark times I was talking about.
And you were telling yourself that too.
Exactly. I was told, and I accepted, and I believed that I was a loser, and so then that played out. So back to that question, how did I change that? Well, a lot of study. A lot of digging into a lot of different subjects, a lot of different disciplines, a lot of spiritual.
What gave you the inspiration to seek that out?
Because of my pain.
Okay.
Because I would go out at night so I lived in Alaska for part of this period, and I would go out into the frozen woods at night, and I would just beat my fists against the ice sometimes, just because there was so much pain for me, and I felt so numbed inside that I just wanted to feel something. And when my fists would bleed, I would feel something, you know. But in the midst of that darkness, and in the midst of that, just really walking on the edge. I wasn't one who was like conscious, really thinking like I'm gonna kill myself, but I was just thinking it would be better if I just died. How could I put myself in a position where I could just die, and then it would just be over,
think there's something called reckless suicide. I just thought of that, like that adjective for it, but what I mean is like you got a death wish essentially.
Right.
You're doing things that will lead to your death essentially.
Right.
Not directly
Passively.
like tying a knot or anything, but
passive suicide, passive reckless suicide might be
exactly
right. Yes. So I was in that state. But when I would go out there would just be something that clung to life. There would be something. Right, and part of that definitely was God for me. You know, going out there and knowing that I know that there's more. I know that I'm here for something, for a reason. I don't know what that is yet. I've got to find that. So that was the beginning, was to just be able to latch onto something greater than myself and outside of my current reality, outside of my current experience. And that's a big piece of what I work with clients on now, is you have to have a powerful vision for your life. You might not know what that vision is right now, and I guarantee you 5 years from now, it's going to be different, not necessarily completely change, but it's going to develop as we develop. But when you're connected to something greater than you, beyond, right? So then you're defined by the powerful future, not repeating the oppressive past. So that's where it started to shift for me. So I unconsciously stumbled upon my own principle. I call it it's a deeper principle than, right? I didn't invent this thing, but I stumbled upon a principle that's now part of my practice, which is having a vision for your life.
Nice.
Because without a vision, the people perish. And that's people or person, like individual or groups. So tying it back into leadership too, like leaders have to provide a vision. Otherwise, their people don't know what they're doing, right? So vision is so powerful. And I stumbled upon that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. 100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to have a vision?
Yeah. So, great question. So vision is tied into purpose. It's tied into dream, right? There's a lot of ways we put this. And so then quick word to just how to begin to discover your vision too, is I like to just talk about what is your dream. There's something that tugs on your heart that wasn't placed there by you, right? There's that's placed there by God. That's God given, and that's for you to pursue. And if you don't pursue your dream, the ghost of that dream will haunt you, you know? So that's where you start to find the vision. So the vision is the dream made manifest in the world, right? It's how do you bring that dream that might feel nebulous and start to connect that to what you're doing that makes an impact on the people around you, right? Sure. And that might just be selling. I always use this analogy of plumbing parts, right? It might, because it seems so mundane, but you might just be selling plumbing parts, or you might feel directly called to coaching like I do, you know, or it might be somebody who feels like they need to be a minister, right? Or directly involved in spiritual work somehow. Whatever it is, whether it's direct or indirect, there's always a direct connection of your vision, which is the dream, the calling, the purpose
Mm-hmm.
that you feel tugging on your heart of how you want to impact people, right? It might just be that I want to improve people's quality of life through plumbing parts.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, we have this incredible experience when you come into my store that you don't find at anybody else's store,
Mm-hmm.
which is, right, and people's quality of life is improved because they're affecting the technicians who are buying the parts, who are then going and they leave that store feeling better. And so they go to their clients' houses, they do the work there, and they leave their clients feeling better because they come in with a positive attitude and uplifted energy and mood. That changes the world, right? One person at a time, that's changing
For
the
sure.
world. So that's the power of vision. Without a vision, there's no that same plumbing store or that same coach, even if they seem to be doing something great, if they're not connected to a vision which is greater than them, it becomes imbecilic, it becomes self-serving, and ultimately it becomes destructive. It becomes something that the person themselves begin to resent. And so that's a tragedy, just side note, of entrepreneurship a lot of times, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
the business itself can become the greatest source of stress
For sure.
for the entrepreneur. And that's because of
A lot of them say they build their own prison sometimes.
Right. And it's not to say it's one size fits all, right? It's not a magic wand. There is no magic wand, but vision is part of that.
For sure.
So that's one of the symptoms of having lost sight of a deeper calling and connection, because
Okay.
then life becomes hollow. And that's where that's where I was at. My life was empty, and I knew that it was empty. So I felt like it would be better not to live than to live a life unlived.
Yeah.
Right, which is then in reverse my mission now, to help everyone live their life fully.
Okay. I was just about to ask you what your vision was.
Yeah,
You just
it's
tell it.
that and fulfillment, right? I would
Okay.
say that I think fulfillment is common language. I want to see everybody live a life of fulfillment.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
for me, that's especially leaders and entrepreneurs, because I think those again, back to that idea of changing the world one person at a time. Entrepreneurs and leaders have a unique impact,
Yeah.
and I love the experience. You know, entrepreneurship is a unique experience, and I'm passionate about it. So I want to help impact those lives specifically.
Yeah, because they're gonna have impact themselves.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like typically a huge impact, and so yeah, so if you can help them have impact, then you're just like accelerate. That's kind of
Precisely.
how I feel with the video production is. If I can help these businesses grow, then I can help them have a better impact. If I can actually help tell the stories of some very powerful, badass, awesome businesses, then I can help them grow and help them affect more people too. So it's like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. It's the ripple effect or the
Yeah,
butterfly effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, precisely.
I actually, my video production company is in a way part coaching, like
Yeah.
because I go in and I help clarify messages, I help tell stories and help them with if they already don't have it clarified already. It depends. Every client has different needs, different problems, different solutions I can provide. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's that. Yeah, you operate it as coach and consultant, even though your service, the deliverable, is not seen to be that. But
For sure.
absolutely, because so many people don't have clarity, and so
What's
a
cool
video
is-
without clarity is
it's
not going to be worth
It's
much.
not going to be of value. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to be impactful. And what's cool is like that's what my coaches taught me, who are video producers as well. We could use our skills of video production and take it to the next level.
Right.
It's really exciting.
Yes, I love that. So that there you have you are living the example of vision, a bigger something greater than what you do, something greater than you, and that's so important for everybody to experience, because ultimately our experience is greater than ourselves.
For sure.
When the experience is just about ourselves, right? So I've got two kids. Daughter's 4, my son's 6 months.
Nice.
And so one of the things there too is like leadership is parenthood too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all of it, great leadership is not about you. Great leadership is about others.
For sure.
So right, when a leadership is approached with this mentality of how do I be better, there's a certain flaw to that. Until it's corrected, until the thinking is corrected that it's not about you, it's about them. So how do you serve them at a higher level, right?
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
you make it more about others? And so parenting is such a beautiful example of this, because my entire goal is to create a self-sufficient human being. You know
For
what I mean?
sure, yeah,
Not
yeah.
create, but develop.
Yeah.
Develop who they already are.
Create and develop, because you did both. Right. Well, helped.
My role was minimal.
Yeah.
But to be part of that development is powerful.
Yeah.
And it's a big responsibility, right? Because Someday they need to stand on their own 2 feet and feel confident and empowered and fully capable in the world. And so that's, again, it has nothing to do with me. It's everything to do with them. And so the only then prerogative to me is how do I make myself more capable of serving them at a higher level.
Yeah. It's that, now I like this analogy. Prince EA, he told me this analogy a while ago. It's about it's in, he's probably got it from someone else too. You probably even heard it. It's the one where it's, like the airplane analogy where you have to, the airplane, the oxygen drops for the parents first. And because you have to make sure you're taken care of before you can take care of your kids. And
Fit your own mask first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The classic. Yeah.
And
right.
I like that,
Which becomes that interesting, and it's what I love about life too, is there's always a dance to it. Right.
Sure.
You have these things that seem maybe contradictory, but when you look deeper, you can see they're both connected. And the reason you fit your own mask first is so that you can take care of others.
Yeah, exactly.
And, right. So it's not
take care of yourself first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But and that's something that I struggled with for years, was this idea of I have to just put everybody else first. So I think it's good that after I speak to that, I speak to the duality of that too, which is that's a very dangerous place because you'll end up exhausting yourself, depleting your own resources, and have nothing to give.
Yeah,
and find yourself
resentful,
and resentful. Absolutely.
Gary Vee puts it. He says you have to be selfish to be selfless.
You do.
And I love it.
It's the dance.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because it's less selfish than we think of. But to get through our own thick skulls, sometimes we just have to say, hey, be selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because we might not fully understand everything yet. But as you do, then you start to realize, I have so much more to give now.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think when we were talking last January, were you saying something about Africa? And I feel like maybe it wasn't you. I feel like you were visiting Africa, but maybe it was someone else.
So no, I've not been to Africa. I don't think we did, but I mean sometimes I do.
You do visit Africa?
No, no. But I mean I've had some conversations about Africa, but
okay, sweat.
No, I don't think that we had that conversation.
You had some mission, I think, though, like some bigger vision. I think that was. It sounded like along the lines of charity work. Yeah.
Well, that's always been meaningful to me.
Okay.
And it's definitely still part of that. Yeah, absolutely. Part of the vision as well.
Okay.
Is to fund really meaningful organizations, especially aimed with really uplifting the community from within. Because for me, honestly, I despise the traditional form of aid because it creates a dependency.
Yeah,
right. So
that's not good.
It's not right. Yeah, because then you're weakening the community. You're undermining their confidence, and then you have people that will forever need aid, and that's really, really wrong. And I think that's honestly part of like the real underlying issue with white oppression. For what it is, which goes beyond even race. It's really more of a mentality, but it's really the mentality of subjugating others. Not even through force, but actually through kindness, right? Through, here, I'm going to give you something, so then you're dependent on me. And I can feel good about myself because I'm so giving and kind. But the reality, right, you peel the mask off that snake and it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Right, so I hate seeing that happen. So, right, instead of even like, and there's such a desperate need for clean water and wells. So there's a place where like, well, let's not stop digging the wells. But what if we
teach them how to dig the wells?
A company, like it taught them, in short, it taught them to build their own wells, dig their own wells, and somehow funded them to get the equipment, but more in a sense of something that's a loan that's payable, right? Not an oppressive loan, but it feels good to have something that you know that you're going to work to pay back because that's more uplifting. Struggle is part of life. It's important to have a meaningful struggle. Otherwise, life becomes meaningless because life is struggle. So when you try to remove the struggle from life, you take the life out of life. When you remove the meaning from struggle, you've removed the meaning from life. It's good to struggle for something greater than you. Sure. Back to vision, right?
And then that goes exactly with the exact reason why we see these trust fund babies these trust fund kids who had everything given to them, and suicide rates are like phenomenal.
Right.
Like with that, not phenomenal, that's the wrong word, but
astronomical.
Astronomical. Yeah, man, it's just so great. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But yeah, it's like you see that like these are people who you would think are the most
Right.
best off,
Right.
and they're not. They're literally not. Like,
Right. Right. And it's an interesting thing. I can speak to that experience actually from my own.
Okay.
Not as having it all financially, but from like I grew up with this perception that, oh, you kind of have it all as far as like a great family and a lot of these kind of things, right? But it didn't change the fact that I was struggling so much internally. You know, so externally, I was always perceived to kind of be, and I did a great job at putting on a mask.
Okay.
Most people that knew me during those dark times didn't know what I was going through.
Okay.
Because I did a great job of hiding it.
For sure.
Partly because I dealt with this shame and the stigma of depression, you know, and a lot of that was just self-imposed, right? There's societal pressures, obviously, but I'll always drink my own Kool-Aid. I know that it was my own thinking that caused my problems. Ultimately, we all become responsible for our own experience, right? Not except for children, especially under the age of 7. That's when it's this formative years. But right, I mean, so at that point, I was fully responsible for myself in my own state. But I mean, I definitely was struggling with that same kind of dynamic, which was I shouldn't feel this way.
And that makes it even worse, you know?
Right. So I think for those trust fund babies and for like people that go through midlife crisis, right? Especially dudes who like have a successful business, they've got a family, and then they just implode. They end up running off with some girl, you know, cheating on their wife, all this kind of stuff. Like that's a whole nother topic, but I can speak to that. I understand it. Without having lived that particular experience, because for me at this point, I understand the underlying human experience.
Yeah.
And the manifestations, the expressions of that are manifold, right? But the deeper you go into yourself, the deeper you understand the core human experience, the more you can empathize with others.
Yeah.
So for me, when I hear about those trust fund babies, it's like, I never had a trust fund.
Yeah.
But I understand what's going
sure.
on. It's
Empathy.
that agony of feeling like I have it all and it sucks. I have it all, but I don't have a life, right? And so I don't know if any of them are listening. Get on, you know, like do something. Hey,
sure.
reach out. We can help you. You know,
I gotta restart this camera real quick. But yeah, man, I kind of get that too in a way, because in my early 20s, I didn't have it all. I wasn't well off really, for real, but I did have my own duplex and, you know, renting it out. And, you know, I had a good job and a decent job. Well, I think it was a good job. Yeah, it was a good job. I got paid to sleep. But the thing is I would come home and I had like a studio built in my house. And I would come home and I'd spend all my days alone for, you know, just isolated, trying to build a music career. And, you know, that just turned in, and, you know, a bad relationship with the ex-girlfriend. And that just turned into like the most ickiest, darkest time in my life, I think. And so it's like, cause, you know, I was able to pay all my bills. That's what I'm getting at. That's how I'm relating to it. You know, I was able to pay all my bills, but, you know, I had vision and I had dreams, but like something was missing, like something was dark, something was icky. I don't know what it was really.
I was just about to ask if you've been able to determine what that piece was.
I haven't really dug deep enough, I don't think, to determine exactly what it was. I know what I did to help myself get out of it.
That would be my next question, yeah.
Yeah, I sold everything.
Okay.
I was going to write a song called I'm Gonna Sell Everything. And then I wrote that song, and then I sold everything, moved out of my duplex. I put whatever stuff I had left in a storage unit, and since I was able to sleep at my job, I just nomadically roamed around all summer, and I had my guitar, and I was just learning guitar as hard as I could, like in the woods by myself with a little amp, like. And so that didn't really get me out of it, because I just started drinking more too. Because I was partying more, and it was summer, and, you know, going to the lake and all this stuff, and had a kayak.
Yeah,
that was one thing I kept. Was my kayak.
It's a good keep. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that didn't really get me out of it though. But it did accelerate I did learn a bunch of stuff. It did accelerate my growth, I think. That was where I was going with that. And it helped me break out of that pattern, a complete shift. And then eventually I left my job because I realized I didn't need it. I knew it was a good job, but it was holding me back. It wasn't allowing me to grow. It was stifling, I guess. And so I left that job, and then I started doing a Grubhub full time. And so it was crazy because doing Grubhub full time, it's on your own time. You get to choose your own hours. You get to choose how hard you want to work, essentially. Yeah. And so it feels a lot like entrepreneurship as well, on top of that. And so that was cool. And I remember saying, like, every day feels like Friday. And so it was cool, but there's still something missing out of that. And, I just decided, I was already doing, I started doing video production before that, before I quit my job, actually, I did video production. I started getting really into video production a year before I quit my job, and after I moved out of my house. I mean, after I just sold everything and moved out. That happened. That was like a 3-month period. Okay. And then I got another duplex with my brother, and that's when I really saw the vision, like, for video production and YouTube. YouTube was like, I saw, like, I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Yep. I think that was a huge shift in my thinking and what is possible. I was going to start an audio engineering company, and I got like a little course for that. And the guy, Graham Cochran, he told me about Tim Ferriss's book. He actually has a blurb on it and how he's making like $60,000 a month off of his online stuff. Okay. Like, kind of like Tim Ferriss model, 4-Hour Work Week model. Okay. And that inspired me, and I was like, that's crazy. And then I started like really getting involved in YouTube and creating content and trying to grow something that I could monetize. And I did that pretty hardcore for like a year and a half, and got really, really into video production. I'd already been kind of into it a little bit in high school, and creating like little stop motion videos and little YouTube videos. I did an auto-tune Obama video that got like 10,000 views. It was right before he got elected. And that was before auto-tune, like, presidential stuff was like
took off and was
turned into a genre.
Yep.
And so I did that, and then that blew up, and like I did the auto-tune Obama thing like in 2009, like before everything. Oh yeah. And like that's when I really saw the potential for YouTube, because I was just thought it was the coolest thing how people all over the world were listening to were watching this video. People in the Philippines, people here, this place. And I was like, that was really cool. But then, I put that off in the back burner. And I don't think I've ever really went this deep into my story on the show yet.
I know. This is good.
Yeah. And so I started video production and got really into it, got really good at editing. I did a vlog, a daily vlog too, like at the end of that 2017 for like 80 videos, like 80 days in a row, just daily, like cut. Started really fine-tuning my editing skills and really getting good at it. I mean, I've always been artistic and skilled in creative stuff, and so just got good at it. And and so video production, I eventually found out that I wanted to make it my career at the beginning of 2019, and I somehow am here now. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Andrew Hasley Show episode.
We're
interviewing.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. So, and you moved out here. If I remember one of your posts on Facebook, you moved out here with like a gutter job or something like that, and then you just stayed. Yeah. We were here on the military base for like 3 months, 2.5 months, and then the project ended, and then I was like, I'm gonna just stay here, a 30-day sink or swim challenge. I'm either gonna sink or I'm gonna swim. So I started swimming. Yeah. And here you are. Yeah. So what? I'm just always interested and fascinated, obviously. So through all of that, there was something missing, and you started doing, and I got coaches. It got you busy as well. Yeah. And you got coaches.
Yeah, my bad.
No worries. Yeah, it's interesting. It feels like maybe an unresolved portion there.
There is.
Bit for you,
there is, yeah. I think so. A little bit, yeah. I started recently digging into that more with journaling. Yeah. Recently, so maybe I should dig some more.
Right on. Yeah, well, and I think that's the journey of life too.
Yeah.
It never stops. Like I think that one of my favorite analogies is the idea of like if you're climbing a ridge, right? You're climbing a mountain. What you think is the mountain, and you get to the top and you realize this was only a ridge. And now there's more mountains beyond, right? When you're climbing that ridge, you can't see beyond it. Your horizon is the ridge. That's as far as you can conceive. But when you get to the top of that, you're going to find greater challenge. And that's really the beauty of of personal growth. You know, is that it will, if you're doing it right, it will keep you humble every step of the way, because you're never going to get to a point. Now, in leadership perspective, especially like poor leadership, bad leadership, right, is just to get to the top, realize there's so much more, get all insecure, and then try to keep everybody else down so that they can't see, because if they saw, then they would know that you're not really anything special. You're just on top of a little anthill trying to keep everybody else down, playing king of the hill. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't stop. You have to keep going, right? And it's like Kobe Bryant would say, until. Yeah, until what? Well, until. Right, just we don't know. It's ongoing. Right. It's why would you stop that journey? Why would you give? Because ultimately, the decision to stop is the decision to give up on yourself. You know,
for sure. And I think that's a good point to stop. Do you have anything else you want to promote today on the show?
Yeah. So if anything I've said resonates, right, I'd love to have a strategy session with people. I don't just open those up carte blanche, but if you've listened to this, if what I've been saying resonates, then reach out to me. Let's set something up. I'd be happy to dive into, really getting clear on where you want to be, talk about that vision, talk about mindset, talk about how to maximize your performance, and really get that clarity moving forward, especially this is the time. People wait till New Year's to make resolutions, and then they fall apart mid-January, beginning of February. Like, this is the time.
Every day is New Year's.
Every day is the next day, is the beginning of your new life.
Yeah.
So the decision is now. If your growth is important to you, don't put it off. Get on a call with me. Reach out to me. For sure.
Where can people find you?
So go to peterlynch.pro.
Okay.
And I've got my contact info right there. And I'm on Instagram at PL himself, or on Facebook. Just look me up, Peter Lynch. You'll find me. Those are great. So I'm active on social media, and then the website, peterlynch.pro.
Sweet. Have you read the book Own Your Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus?
No, I haven't.
It's a pretty good book.
Okay.
It's basically, obviously you can't have the perfect day every day, but it's basically what he would set up throughout the whole book of what, not only like science backed, there's like 300 source articles in this. Like, it's crazy. He's the one who does On It and Alpha Brain and a bunch of he co-owns On It with Joe Rogan, actually. So
okay, yeah.
So you probably hear Alpha Brain being sponsored by Joe Rogan if you listen to Joe Rogan at all. And
I have yet to listen to any of them. They're so long.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like you don't listen to the whole thing at the same time.
Right. Well, we had you were saying that at
the event the exactly.
I know, but they're so long it's intimidating. But no, I'll have to check them out at some point.
I break it down into my drives. My drive's over. It's off, and then I get back in my car, pick it back up.
Nice. Yep.
It's like reading a book.
Right. Yeah.
Well, all right, man. It was great having you on the show.
Yeah, likewise. Awesome being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. This has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.